Where's that gotten us?
No, I got a lot to say about this because I had the philosophy of build bridges, change minds, hold their hands and walk them through it. I'm the guy that had that philosophy and embodied it the first term of Trump in 2016. I'm the guy who was on Joe Rogan's show 5 or 6 times, holding his hand like a fucking toddler and walking him through basic left-wing arguments.
Things seem to keep just getting worse and worse for Cenk Uygur and the Young Turks. Now, Cenk Uygur is saying that he's going to go to Dallas to meet with Dr. Phil about the Trump administration rounding up immigrants. Francesca Fiorentini had Kyle Kulinski on her show, The Bitchuation Room, to talk about this. This is one that you don't want to miss. I'm going to share my thoughts on it too. Let's get into this together.
I was the reach across the aisle guy, right? You know what that got me? Fucking Joe Rogan endorsing Donald Trump, having him on his podcast and letting him lie to his face repeatedly for 3 hours straight, where he said things like, I never said lock her up about Hillary Clinton. I never said that. It was other people that said that.
Like, even Rogan knows how to fact check that one. Like, even Rogan knows that he
didn't. He actually didn't.
Right, exactly.
So I understand the mindset. I understand where he's coming from. But bro, at some point, you have to stop pretending like we're having reasonable disagreements. These are not reasonable. It's not interesting to debate whether or not it was a good idea for Trump to sign an executive order that raises drug prices, or whether or not it was a good idea for him to sign an executive order that filled the swamp and said, all my cabinet, no more anti-corruption rules for them. It's not reasonable to say 1,500 January 6ers were pardoned, including violent ones, including ones that assaulted cops, including ones that diddle kids. Like, it's not to sit across from these people and basically give them it gives them cover. It gives them cover to pretend, oh, yes, I'm one of the good ones on the left and I'm having a reasonable conversation with you. The reasonable conversation is not a conversation. It's a debate where you pummel them into the ground repeatedly.
Exactly. And they respect you for that. I do think that they respect you for that. When you can actually win the debate, or in my case, just kind of like make fun of them and dunk on them, there is a little bit more respect than someone who's kind of like, just like, hey, why can't we meet their side truly thinks that, like, yeah, me, who said Pete Hegseth is should be like, sued for defamation, right? Or that I should be taken off of YouTube or whatever the hell else. Like, and we will see that happen in due time. But that's the question. I mean, I think it's really big of you because, look, I know a lot of stand-up comics who would love to go on Rogan. I always make fun of it because my husband Matt's a stand-up, and I'm like, you would totally throw me under the bus to go on Rogan. Like, I always make fun of him because Rogan's a huge deal. Once you get on Rogan, people start paying attention to your stand-up. They might see you. And same thing with you if you're a political commentator. If you go on Rogan, like, that's massive. And so, and I really think it is a testament to your character, having not known you really, but the fact that you're like, I tried this, I was wrong, because you could have easily just played into more of the Rogan game and told him what he wanted to hear and kept on getting invited back. And then, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, the only way to get invited back is to tell them what they want to hear.
Yes. And here's the thing. I have personal experience with this where I went on the PBD podcast a few years back now. And when I went on the PBD podcast, I went in there more with the mindset of, I'm not really going to hold their hand. I'll explain things as clearly as I can, but I'm going to be clear in what I'm saying, right?
Sure.
When I did that, you read the comments on that video, and it's people going, holy shit, he torched you for 2 hours straight, right? Compared to how I was with Rogan, where I hold his hand and walk him through it, I don't think I was changing any minds, right? And so here's what people need to understand, and Trump is the best example of this. How did Donald Trump win? If you disagree with him 1%, he would behead you and hold it up and say, anybody who crosses me even a little bit, you're donezo. It's over. It's a wrap. So, but on the left, for some reason, and among a lot of liberals, there's this weird thing. Oh, we got to be the bigger people. We got to meet them halfway. We got to do this. It's like, no, tell the truth unapologetically and aggressively and confidently, and let the chips fall where they may. And some people you're going to convince, some people you're not going to convince, but that's okay. You're going to get more of them by aggressively telling the truth than you are by pretending like there's reasonable disagreements where there are no reasonable disagreements. Guys, the Elon thing is like, this is just a perfect example of it. The Elon thing is insane. This guy is illegally hacking into the Treasury. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. Congress has the power of the purse. They pass something, the president signs it. It goes to the Treasury. That's it. There is nobody on the back end that, okay, let me mess with this. I want to cancel that and cut off this payment. That's not how it works. What am I going to gain by sitting across from a right winger and go, oh, Elon sure is interested in cutting waste? there sure are some things that he cut which made sense for him to cut. Like, no, we're not fucking playing this game. I'm not fucking dumbing myself down in order to try to be one of the good ones with your.
You know what it does? You know what I think it does, actually, speaking of just like the election breaking some people's brains, is I think that it's again, when you've done this for so long and our side gets very, very tired of losing, the only thing you feel like you can change is your own perception. And the only feeling you can change is maybe your own positions. And suddenly you don't feel like a loser. I mean, Kamala Harris lost the election. Progress was lost. I mean, in that moment, and the small gains of the Biden administration were totally tanked, right? From the NLRB wins to Lena Khan to the Inflation Reduction Act, all of it gutted. I remember in the moment we were like, oh, I wonder if they'll leave the Inflation Reduction Act because it really helps a lot of red states. It's all gone. They're gonna completely, or at least they're trying to. It's not legal, but they're trying to rescind, all of the money that was allocated for it. So that's the thing, is like, I think it comes from this place of not having a long view of like movement struggle and how shit has ever changed in this country, and being like, well, maybe it's not a loss if we come together and agree that like, we need term limits, or like, we need to prevent the revolving door, as if they would ever agree to stop the revolving door between, Congress and the private sector. But yeah.
And Francesca and Kyle here, I think, are spot on. And the thing that I've been saying for months, that with Cenk going on these various shows, and now he's saying that he tweeted out saying that he's going to meet with Dr. Phil. I'm going to Dallas right now to talk to Dr. Phil and James Poulos. I'm not sure of the pronunciation of that, of the Blaze. You know why? Because we need to talk to each other and begin to understand one another. The powerful have driven a wedge between us. We've got to stop hating each other. That's the meta problem. Well, if you could meet on actual issues, that would be fine. But Cenk Uygur is going to meet with people who, now I don't know about Dr. Phil, but the actual MAGA people, I mean, I guess Dr. Phil is counted in there now. They want to deport everybody. It doesn't care. They don't really care what their status is. That's where we got into this issue about the visas, where MAGA people are even upset about the visas for tech workers. And then that caused a problem with Elon, because he supports that, because he can exploit those people in his companies. But it's just amazing, because Cenk Uygur doesn't seem to understand that they're never going to find any middle ground with him. They just like the fact that he craps on Democrats like Nancy Pelosi for their corruption, which he's right about that. But they're not going to come to some agreement on, hey, we're going to cut. I mean, Cenk has talked about this, that, they'll cut defense. Does he really honestly think they're going to make any cuts to defense? No, I don't see that happening. The only way they'll ever make cuts to defense is it will be, well, we got rid of this woke program that's, outreach to try to get people in underserved areas to join the military, or to get more women in the military, or something like that. They're going to be like, oh, we cut this woke program, and look, we made cuts to defense. But they're not going to cut, money for weapons, or money that's going to go to send weapons to countries in the Middle East. They're not going to do any of that.
So let me just say, because you're making a great point. They had the opposite evolution of me, because in 2016, they really were all about the, no, we are leading the resistance. We are like the front of the resistance, right?
Do you mean TYT? You mean
TYT,
Anna and Cenk? Yeah.
So from their perspective, they felt like, hey, we tried this super resistance thing, and we feel like that didn't work. So now I'm going to try to, maybe I'll meet you halfway and get more bees with honey, or whatever that fucking saying is. I don't know if I got it right.
Yeah.
That's their perspective. But look, what I would say in response to that is, I disagreed with some ways they went about the resistance in 2016. I wasn't on board with all the Russiagate stuff. But having said that, Trump lost in 2020. He actually lost. Mm-hmm. And so maybe that, like, over the top, like, nah, f this guy, it's illegitimate, f him and the horse he rode in on, that actually kind of worked. The fact that the carcass Joe Biden was able to get dragged across the finish line to beat Trump, it's like, maybe there actually is something to be said about the aggressive, over the top, we're taking no shit, we're taking no prisoners, that reaction. And so And now I just feel like it's even more necessary than it was the first term because he's way more unhinged, way more. There are no more guardrails, guys. They're gone. There are no Mark Millies to say, sir, you can't shoot the protesters in the leg. Right. That's not a good idea. That's gone. So now more than ever, we need everybody to speak up. We need everybody to be leading this charge. There are no more middle ground. It really is a which side are you on moment. It really is. Just like they say when it comes to labor and unions, which side are you on? Are you with the bosses or are you with us? Which side are you on? Are you with the fascists or are you against the fascists? It's really that simple.
Are you with the bosses too? These are the bosses.
Right,
that's right. It's all about workers' rights. And again, right now, they might be attacking communities you're not from. They might be attacking undocumented people who are DACA recipients, trans people, but it is all an effort to roll back any gains that have been made for all people, for all civil rights.
The NLRB, the CFPB, these are two incredibly important agencies which have already been destroyed by them. Forget union organizing now. They just destroyed that, right? Like forget the anti-scam police, which is what the CFPB is. They destroyed that. This is an agency that returned $19 billion to Americans who were defrauded by financial institutions. Now Trump and Elon are saying, do more fraud. We love fraud.
And so Francesca Fiorentini there, I mean, she's basically, I don't know that was exactly her intention, but she's pretty much paraphrasing the classic poem from World War II, Martin Niemöller. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name correctly, but first they came for the socialists and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. It's classic, but that's what, she's saying here. Well, maybe it's not affecting their neighborhood in terms of Cenk Uygur and TYT and Anna Kasparian, but it might be at some point if things continue the way they are. And I agree with Francesca Fiorentini and Kyle Kulinski that TYT needs to be using their voice to really push back against this instead of trying to meet with people like Dr. Phil and people from The Blaze. But that's just my opinion. What do you think about this? Let me know in the comments if you agree with Francesca Fiorentini and Kyle Kulinski. I know some people are getting tired of this battle with the Young Turks, but I mean, I think it's important. So that's why I'm doing videos about it. Let me know what you think. This is Chris on Culture, and I will see you in the next video.